right. Hi. Welcome everybody to another episode of Embracing Authentic. My name is Janelle, and I have here my co-facilitator, Marissa, to the
Hi,
podcast.
everyone.
So today our topic is called code switching. Is that the real you? So before we kind of dive into our topic, I want to make sure everybody understands what code switching is. So I looked it up on Google. You know, I'm infamous for Googling things. And Harvard Business Review states that code switching basically involves adjusting one style of speech, appearance, behavior, and expression in ways that will optimize the comfort of others in exchange for fair treatment, quality service, and employment opportunities. Research also suggests that code switching often occurs in spaces where negative stereotypes of Black people run counter to what are considered appropriate behaviors and norms for a specific environment. So, an example would be where an African American gets pulled over by the police and they are acting polite and respectful when stopped, even though they may be more afraid than anything. Also, there was a study that showed that African American students, switched up between the standard English and the African American vernacular English, so basically using slang with their peers, which elevates their social standing and intended audience. So now that we have a basic idea of what code switching is, why do we do
Yeah, I have to admit, when you first sent that you wanted to talk about this subject, I didn't really know what code switching was. But when I kind of like read the details of it, I was like, oh, yeah, I do that all the time, like
right?
around family, friends, especially when I was in school, did it constantly. Um, but there wasn't really a name for it in my mind. I think when I was younger, a lot of people said, "Oh, what was the term? You you sound white. You don't sound Black."
I have
And
heard that my whole life.
yeah, and I was like, this is
How
just
do
my
you sound like it's
voice,
the
or
absence of color or all the colors? Like, I don't understand.
exactly. So when you bring up like Black students not using any sort of slang, so they kind of fit in with their white peers,
Hmm.
um, because that's seen as the acceptable way to speak in the academic environment.
Right.
That kind of like really hit home for me because I'm like, oh God, I did that all the time. I still do that. Not in school anymore, but uh, at work, I mean, I speak differently when I'm talking to you as a colleague versus you as a friend.
Right.
Like,
Right.
um, so just like even when I'm speaking now, sounds like very professional and like buttoned up and ready to conquer this corporate world. But before we hopped on this podcast, it's like, what's up, girl?
Hey
Like, how's
girl,
it
how are
going?
you?
Yeah,
Much more relaxed. Like,
exactly.
yeah. And I mean, I even thought about, I didn't know that code switching was a term. I saw a YouTube video of this lady. It was like a BuzzFeed video. It was a Black lady, curly hair, like a curly fro. And she's walking in the office. And the minute she walks in the door, there's a Black guy. Hey, how are you? What's up? White person, hi, how are you? And then like a Latina, like, hey girl, a little more relaxed. So it was that gave it a definition. And even more so, Key and Peele, I don't know if you watched them, but they did a
I was gonna
parody.
bring that up.
Yes, they did the
Of
parody
Obama.
of Obama, where he went into a locker room and he shakes the white coach's hands, but he daps it up with the Black guy. And it's like, okay, even our president code switches. So it's something that we all do innately, whether we know we have a name for it or not. But why? Like, to your point, being called, oh, you talk white, or I've always heard you're Oreo because I'm Black on the outside, but I'm white on the
Yes.
inside. Like,
We
why do I have
lived
to
the
be
same childhood, and yeah, I don't get why it's a thing. I know that I do it, and I think it's really to fit in with the people around you.
Mhm.
And if it's not to fit in, then it's to make other people feel comfortable, um, just so they feel comfortable talking to you. Because it's not even necessarily to try to meet the standards of what society perceives to be um, like proper.
Right.
Um, it can be to fit in with your own family. I know when I'm with my black side of the family, I I act a little bit differently. I use more slang that I don't use on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
So it's really just to, for me at least, to fit in with the people around you, whether that be at work, with family, with friends. It's just to kind of fill that role that you're supposed to be. I don't know what when do you feel that you code switch the most?
Um, I feel like we're like one and the same people almost in a sense because it depends on who I'm around, and it makes me think of almost like survival of the fittest or adapt type of that scientific side of things. Just we adapt to fit in as people in general, because like you said, like if I'm hanging out with one side of my family, I probably say things and act in ways that I usually typically don't, but it's to fit in with that crowd versus this crowd. I'm a different side, so there's different personas and different phases of Janelle. You'll get the professional Janelle, you'll get chill, relax Janelle. You get mommy Janelle. So there's different phases, but I don't know. I think that probably first coming to Prospero, I was more like, oh, suit, tie, button up, and because you don't know the environment, you don't know. But then once you kind of get in here, like now, I do feel more comfortable. I've used slang in training. I said, oh, that's dope, and we had a whole conversation about like, no, I don't mean the drugs. I mean like that's really cool. So I think that just being here at Prospero, I can say that I feel that we are working towards a common culture that allows everybody to be themselves, but it takes time with anything. But it's just so interesting that, we all code switch, whether you're Black, Latina, whatever, whoever. I feel like everybody does it. It just may come in different forms. I mean, we talked to Jen in HR that was like, yeah, I code switch between my sides of the family. And, she's a Caucasian lady. So it doesn't just fit into this little box of all Black people code switch. I think everybody does it. And ultimately, I think it boils down to just making sure that we're comfortable and that we don't allude to any stereotypes because we're Black. We don't want to be labeled those stereotypes.
Right. Is
And that's
is
that's good and bad, but it's kind of
yeah.
yeah.
Do you think that code switching is a bad thing? I mean, I have my opinions on it, but what do you think?
I wouldn't always say that it's bad because professionally we see that code switching helps. There's scientific proof that says, African Americans that code switch and they come off with, maybe having the straight hair or the way that you make sure you enunciate and you are a college graduate is much better received. I mean, for an example, I've wanted to lock my hair for years and I was scared to do it. So I always either wore weaves or braids, but not really my natural hair. So to walk
Mhm.
into the office, leave on a Friday with curly long hair and come to work with short little locks, it was scary and it was well receptive for the most part. But again, it's that breaking down that stereotype, breaking down those like, oh, this is not the version that you presented to us. Something's different.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that you hit on hair because that's code switching in a very physical way. When I think code switching, I normally think like you change how you speak, and that's pretty much it.
Mhm.
But hair is a big one, especially for Black women, because just in recent years, it's become acceptable to wear your hair natural, and let that fro fly. And
Right.
it's
They're making whole laws about hair, which also
insane.
says a lot about our society that the Crown Act had to be enacted because kids are not being able to go to Harvard or graduate school, or
Get
people
a
are losing their
job.
jobs simply
Yeah,
because of the way your hair naturally grows out of your head. I don't know if people know this, but it takes hundreds of dollars to get your hair done, and the products that go into it to make it look straight, seem straight, let it be a humid day, that $200 blowout is out the window. So the fact that we have to have these conversations and these laws enacted and all of this for us African Americans, people of color in general, to naturally be them, I think is important to have, but it also is a little bit of sad because we don't have these conversations for non people of color because the rules were written for them. And now they
hmm
have to go back and say, oh, we left this whole big group of people out, whether you wear a hijab or however you wear your hair, um, now has to be taken into consideration. And people have to look at it as, oh, you know what? They are being their natural selves. I don't want them to assimilate because that's since the dawning of this country, assimilation. So now we're
hmm
saying, I don't want to assimilate. I want to be me. I want to go back to my roots and learn more about me and learn all about the history that y'all left out of the books just to
yeah,
be me. Yeah, I shouldn't offend anybody or lead into a stereotype for wanting to be me.
agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed 100%. Yeah, I just started wearing my hair curly. It's not even necessarily my natural curls, but I do like a twist out. Um,
And it's
and
so cute.
thank you.
It's
I
different than
know
the
that
ponytail.
nobody's seeing it right now because I threw it up in a bun. But yeah, I just started doing that. One because black hair that's straightened in humidity just doesn't work, and since we're in Memphis, just throw that out the window.
That was a
But
waste of time.
2, it huge waste of time,
Right.
huge waste of time. But 2, I think I just finally started feeling comfortable in my own skin. Um, being able to wear my hair curly and people saying it's cute instead of saying, "Oh, I like your hair so much more when it's straight," because
Right.
that's just me fitting into the white culture of
Right.
having straight hair and that straight hair is beauty. So I think that was a big thing for me to kind of not code switch anymore, and I'm sure it was for you too, to lock your hair and do something that's a hairstyle that's mostly worn by black people. Um, so I think that that was a big step for me, and it's really, I'm trying to think of the word. Just it makes you feel good being able to walk out and truly be your authentic self and say, I love my hair this way. It didn't
Mhm.
take me 3 hours and $400 to get it this way. And it
Right.
looks cute and it should be accepted that this is the way I look. And I don't have to fit into this mold that society has put out there. So I think it's a huge step for society as a whole to be accepting of people of all different cultures of
Right.
showing up as their authentic selves.
Do you think Prospero really genuinely embraces us being authentic?
I do. I don't want to take too long of a pause there because I don't want people to think that I don't. I do. I really do. I seen anybody or heard of anybody saying like, "Hey, ca can you not speak like that on the phone? Can you talk a little bit more professionally? Can
Right.
you wear your hair a certain way?" I've never heard of that, here, so I think that our company's doing a good job of that. Do you think
Yeah,
that?
I do. I think so. I mean, I'll tell Sharice from Georgia, the CD, she inspired me to lock my hair. When I first saw her in training, I was like, oh my God, her locks are gorgeous. And I told her that, and she was like, do it. Just do it. And every now and again, we'll, teams chat, and she's like, let me see your progress. Oh, girl, you got a little shake going. She was like my motivation of lock goals. But yeah, overall, yes, I do think that Prospero does kind of embrace that. Now, I will say I have found myself, I guess, and it may be an internal thing, just feeling like I'm trying to avoid the angry black lady stereotype when I say something because I'm a direct person. I'm very factual. I take time to think about it and I present it as a fact. And sometimes that can come off as if you're reading it in the email that I have a tone, but it's like, no, I did this on Friday. Here you go. But you may read, I did this on Friday. Here you go. And in my head, I may naturally think that maybe other people were thinking that. And I do kind of struggle with I'm not the angry black lady because I'm not angry like at all. But
Yeah.
I
A lot
find
of
myself
times,
thinking that,
yeah,
yeah,
code switching a lot of times seems like you're just trying to avoid whatever stereotype people might be thinking of. They're probably not.
probably not.
But
Yeah,
just like how women code switch at work may be a little bit more stern and not affectionate towards people that might be having a hard day, or use a lower voice because that and kind of insinuates power and strength. That's another way of code switching that I think Jen mentioned a few weeks back, that
hmm,
women often code switch at work, and I think that's something that I do pretty often, just so I can um, show a sense of I belong here.
right.
Um, and it might not be all because I'm a woman, but also because I have a very young face and I am young. So it's just to take me seriously. I code switch a little bit by changing my voice or using really great vocabulary or something like
Right.
that.
Like I learned a new word in the dictionary. I'm going to use it today.
Yep, I'm gonna throw it at you 5 times. Get
Yes.
ready.
But I relate so much because I mean, we're young, we're black, and we're women in the South. So the struggle can be real sometimes, real or perceived. I feel like it is there and we do have to code switch. And I think at the end of the day, it's not something that we try to do intentionally, but it is a way to maybe survive. We see that, Pavlov's experiment with the dogs. You did something and then it worked, and then you keep doing it, and it creates a learned behavior. So code switching is a learned behavior. I realize, oh, if I wear my hair straight, I get these benefits, or if I do this, I get this. So it's that learned behavior that ultimately that's what it boils down to. Black, white, Hispanic, homosexual, like whatever your jazz is, like ultimately everybody code switches.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
Well, I think this has been a great conversation.
it has. I'm kind of in these one-on-ones, Janelle.
I do. I like it, Jermaine. Wherever you are, just stay on vacation. We do miss you though, Jermaine.
We do. And as much as we love talking to each other, we would love to talk to any of our listeners out there that would like to join us for an episode. Janelle, I've enjoyed this conversation. Our next episode is going to be on talking with family around the holidays, right? Having
Right.
difficult conversations because 2020 has been a weird year, you guys. It's been tough on a lot of people. A lot of conversations have gotten political, literally breaking family ties. So when it comes to the holidays, also please don't do big holiday get-togethers in 2020 because there's a global pandemic. But around the holidays, you're spending a lot of time with family that you haven't seen for probably the whole year now. So we're going to talk about having those conversations or maybe not having those conversations. So I believe we're having Lindy join us for that talk in a couple of weeks. So please listen in for that.
All right. So thank you guys again for tuning in. This has been another episode of Embracing Authentic, and we will catch you next time. Bye.
Hi, everyone.